How do you explain all these white guys playing hockey? Once in a while there's a black dude, and then all these black dudes increasing, a lot of white guys, but, how do you explain that?
It's like when I was in the middle school, it's like everyone just play table tennis.
You're not playing hockey?
No.
You're not playing baseball?
No one.
Yeah, you're not playing baseball?
No.
Not playing American football?
No.
Yeah, you're playing tennis. You're playing table tennis. So all you sports people, I just walked you through some of the things about these bodies. Black people aren't really good at basketball because they jump higher, all that kind of. None of that. Black people would be great at hockey if they played hockey in large numbers. It's all about genetics. Well, if it's all about genetics, why is it that if we go back 50 years, the United States and Europe is on top, and China and Korea and Singapore and Hong Kong is down here? What happened in 50 years that flipped that? The problem is we don't get away from this stuff, right? We don't get away. And we look at each other and we look at these physical differences and we imagine that they must be real at a deeper level. How did it come to be that people of certain ancestry groups tend to dominate certain sports?
I think that certain country probably has played that sport for a longer amount of time,
Okay.
ancestors and stuff.
All right.
Yeah, I would say that different countries are more dominant because that sport might be more popular in that country. So they're
Okay. What about this? What about hockey and basketball? How do you explain all these white guys playing hockey? Once in a while there's a black dude, and then all these black dudes increasing, a lot of white guys, but, how do you explain that?
I feel like it all comes back to genetics. Like somebody who's taller and slimmer is gonna.
Dude, you ever be around hockey players? They're pretty tall, not just because they're skates. Tennis players? Okay, so now you're back in genetics, right? Stay with the other one. What is it? Why these guys are playing hockey and these guys are more likely to play basketball? Why do we see a dominant of people of African ancestry playing basketball and hockey not? And football is a mix of lots of people. If these guys all decided that they wanted to be great basketball players or great football players, and from early on in their lives they never did anything but play basketball or football, then they'd be great basketball or football players. If these guys were given hockey skates at the age of 5, and they were playing hockey for as long as these guys were probably playing hockey, they'd be great hockey players, and they wouldn't be playing basketball. But as it is, they grew up in a culture, almost all these guys, where basketball's the name of the game. They grew up in a hockey culture. Here, 30% of Major League Baseball is Hispanic. Why is it 30%? 30 years ago, it was 10%. Why is it 30%? Why did Hispanics suddenly become such great hockey and baseball players? Because they start playing baseball everywhere, right? And here, why is cricket? This is the U.S. cricket team, and they did really well in the World Cup this year. You know why? Do you know why? You should know this.
There's a lot of Indian people on that team.
Because they're all Indians, right? Because Americans don't play cricket, but Indian Americans play cricket, so they all play cricket. You don't even know what cricket is. Bro, do you even know what cricket is? Do you have any idea? All right, so look, now, go to the next slide. Can you name any table tennis players in China?
There was just too much.
There are too many.
Yeah, it's like when I was in the middle school, it's like everyone just play table tennis.
You're not playing hockey?
No.
You're not playing baseball?
No one.
Yeah, you're not playing baseball?
No.
Not playing American football?
No.
Yeah, you're playing tennis. You're playing table tennis. So the top table tennis players in the world are Chinese, Korean. Here's these two guys here. They sort of broke into the one guy's French and the other guy, I forget where he's from or me. Laotians are among the smallest people in the world. The average height for girls or women, 4'11" and a half. Bosnians are the tallest people in the world, 6'0.5". So All these long distance runners, where are they from? Ethiopia, Kenya, East Africa. You know who these guys are? At home, you know who these guys are in Ethiopia? Do you know would you know their names if you were Ethiopian?
Probably.
To hell yeah, these guys, they are like the most famous people in Ethiopia, man. Everybody runs there. And here, so we have people of West African ancestry. Like, you're going to be a little taller, they're never going to be here. This is the finals, 100-meter finals in the 2024 Paris Olympics. You will never see a Laotian, unless that Laotian is such an outsider that that they grow tall and they have different bodies. They're just never going to see a Laotian in the finals. You're never going to see it. These guys, you're never going to see it either. Because why? Because they're really stocky. They're never going to be long distance runners. They will never, you're rarely going to, you're going to be some people, but like, this is the body type here. So like, okay, there's nothing special. They don't jump higher. They don't, the best runners are strong, but there's nothing special, except that they're going to be a little taller. And these guys are going to be tall, they're going to be thinner, and they're not going to be short. Okay? So this is its difference. But now let's go to the next thing. Look at the names here. There was a tournament that Penn State supported. Ivy League, Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, Yale. Look at all the names. Where are they from? Dude.
East Asian.
Yeah, China and Korea. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, here we go. Jacksonville State, Central Michigan, Central Arkansas, wherever that is. See any Koreans or Chinese here? No, because Koreans or Chinese are going to go to the Ivies because that's where they're going to go. And they love playing golf. They're not better at golf because they're better genetically. They're better because they love playing golf. But they don't love it enough to go here. You see how that fits in? Korean parents, you're not going to send your kid to Central Arkansas and play golf. Like, you're just not doing that. You're going to go to the Ivy, we can do that. All right? Okay, so now we're going to go next thing. So all you sports people, I just walked you through some of the things about these bodies. Black people aren't really good at basketball because they jump higher, all that kind of shit. None of that. Black people would be great at hockey if they played hockey in large numbers. Hockey players would be great at basketball if they weren't skating around on rinks up in Canada. And some of them who do play basketball are great at basketball, but hockey's the thing. PISA is the program. It's a test. It's given to about 600,000 15-year-olds every year. Okay, and it measures science, math, reading comprehension. It's real-world problem solving. So it's not an IQ test per se, but it's as close as you're going to get it. And look at the score. Look at who comes out on top: Singapore, China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Hong Kong, and then you start up here. Look where the U.S. is. The U.S. is 200 points below Singapore and China. Are you guys 130? Are you guys that much smarter than us?
No, because Chinese parents just push them too much, I think.
Well, I don't know. If you look at this, we think like, oh, the Chinese are really, you must be really smart. Like, it all comes down to genetics. Remember the questions on the class last week? This question on the stream, on the chat? It's all about genetics. Well, if it's all about genetics, why is it that if we go back 50 years, the United States and Europe is on top, and China and Korea and Singapore and Hong Kong is down here? What happened in 50 years that flipped that? If it's about genetics, what happened in 50 years that flipped that? If people in Singapore are scoring so much higher than people in the United States, okay, then the idea that people have is, well, people in Singapore, maybe they're wired in a different way. Maybe it's about genetics for them, because what else could explain that? Because we go back to genetics.
So I don't think it's genetics still. I mean,
Well, so tell, look in the camera and say why it's not genetics, because there are people who think that it is.
so a bit about me from Edison, and as he said, there's a lot of Asian people there. And the high school I went to was JP, if you guys know what that is. It's a very competitive school filled with a lot of Asians. So for me at least, if one kid did this, this, and this, and that, you're destined to do that and more. So I don't think this is really genetics. I think that a lot of people in Singapore maybe did really well, and then all these parents are like, dude, you gotta do well, like, come on, get your game up, and then kind of like did better.
You got a whole society built around education in a different kind of way, and putting resources into education. A lot of Chinese don't even take the exam. If they took the exam, the score will go down. But the part of China that is thriving in terms of education and the economy does extremely well. It's like, damn. The problem is we want to think that IQ is genetic, and it is at a level for individuals. There's no question that some of you who have super high IQs, or some of you who have really low IQs, it's like you're wired in some kind of way. Like, that's okay for an individual. But when it's a whole group, it's really, really difficult. Yeah. Yeah. But the problem is we don't get away from this stuff, right? We don't get away. And we look at each other and we look at these physical differences and we imagine that they must be real at a deeper level.